Got another accessory here to hang on the X580. This is the front brush guard. Part number is BM23057. Let's get this thing open, get it assembled, and get it on the tractor. Drop the nut. So first impression, they could have at least put the hardware in a bag. Hopefully it's all here. And that is it. So it looks like we got this grommet kind of piece, a bolt, and a nut that all came out of this side. And then it's all pretty much assembled. There's a cotter pin, a bar with another cotter pin on the opposite end. And that is it. This brush guard is good looking quality. The steel seems thick. It's not thin by any means. This is probably, I'd say, about 1/4 inch. Let's measure it here. A little less than 1/4 inch, about 3/16 inch. So, good quality there. I think that's quite a bit thicker than the bumper that you would find for the 100 series. Cutscene! So, I did measure the frame on the 100 series bumper. This metal is about 3/32 of an inch thick, and there is a bit of stamping in it to give it a little bit of extra rigidity. As far as the tubing, I can't tell what the thickness of that is on either of these bumpers. I could pop off one of the end caps, but I don't think I'm going to do that. But yeah, still a good looking bumper though. This is going to be the bumper that you'd put on the 5 and also the 300 series tractors. So we'll jump into the instructions here. Yeah, there is not a lot of parts to this. So let's jump to the install. This install actually seems pretty easy. There's actually no assembly whatsoever for the brush guard itself. The only assembly involved is actually putting it on the tractor. In order to do this, all you really need is a couple 1/2 inch wrenches, or if you want to use a socket wrench, fine. I have a 1/2 inch box end wrench here, and also a 1/2 inch ratcheting box end wrench. So yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it. First thing I'm gonna do though is remove the cotter pin in this bar. This bar is what you need to remove in order to actually open up the hood with this brush guard still installed. So I'm gonna take that out for now. I'm gonna pick up the guard. You gotta kind of slide it in from the bottom side. You can't go straight down with this because of the way this is bent in at the bottom. So you gotta go from underneath. And then we're gonna grab that bar that we just removed and slide that through. And there we have the bumper actually kind of installed. But I'm hoping that this will hold it while I put on these bushings. So we're going to slide the bushing in and then slide the bolt in. The side that has the nut is the outside of the tractor. So I'm going to just kind of put that on loose. And then we're going to come to the other side. You can pull this edge out a little bit and you can get that bushing in there. Once the bushing's in, put that screw in, or that bolt in, and put on that nut. So, step 2 here, insert the bolt. We already did that. Secure with the M8 nut. We did that, but do not tighten completely. I didn't tighten them completely yet. And then repeat for the opposite side. So that's all done. Next, we're going to align the holes of the brush guard with the holes on the frame and install the rod. We already did that at first. Honestly, I read through these a little bit before actually doing this. Not gonna lie, I tried it a couple times just to see what was gonna work the best as far as getting this on here. And if you're doing this by yourself, the best way to do this would definitely be try to get this bar in here so that you can hold this so that it's not, you know, moving around on you. If you're trying to hold it there and get some of this hardware in, you may drop that bushing out and it might be a little bit of a pain. So I would recommend putting this bar in first and then do your hardware from there. There's room to get the hardware in. As you can see, I got it in there no problem. I didn't have to like bend and pry on things. It all worked out. We're gonna tighten these and see if this can actually move if they're tightened. I can see why you wouldn't want to tighten it completely, as it's gonna put pressure on it. But you would think they would make this a lock nut if it was intended not to move. All right, just check the tightness on this once more. All right, I got those to where they seem like they're tight. Let's try taking this off as if we were going to lower this. I'm actually gonna put this pin on the other side. All right, so taking the bar out, this moves up and down completely. So I don't know why the instructions don't say anything about it, but nothing in here says anything about tightening the nut. So I would say go ahead, tighten it. It's not a lock nut by any means, so definitely keep an eye on it. I think I might actually take this and put some Loctite on it just so that they don't come off. I would imagine with vibration and whatnot, that nut could work itself right off there. So I don't know where the disconnect was there when they were writing these, but you definitely want to tighten them down. As you can see, it does not whatsoever inhibit the movement of this guard. From there, you can open the hood just as far as you would normally. And then you can put the guard right back up into position. Slide the bar back through. Put your cotter pin back on the other side. And you're good to go. One of the biggest questions that I had wondered when thinking about getting this brush guard for this tractor was, can you have this installed along with the quick attach weights, the John Deere 42-pound weights? And I'm here to test that out. I have here one of those weights, and you can see, of course, it fits on there. Can you actually lower it and open up the hood though? Let's find out. So you can lower it to there to where it rests on the weight. And the hood is actually open completely. It does not touch the weight whatsoever. It does not touch the bumper. And this is up as far as it'll go. So If you had any concerns at any chance of whether or not you could have all of this attached, I'm here to tell you right now, it works. So let me try moving it to a different position. This one's all, I have it sitting all the way on the end. So there's going to be the most clearance at this point for this bumper because it's slightly curved, and with that curvature it can drop a little lower on the ends. So I'm going to put this weight directly in the center and we'll see what it does there. So now the weight's in the center. This can't go as far forward, almost as far but not quite. And there again, this goes all the way forward. There's no contact with any of the other hardware here. So yeah, I think all this was most likely designed in a manner that you would not have any issues doing something like this. So go ahead, load this thing up with 4 weights and the bumper, and you know, you can still get to your engine if you need to. During this video, I didn't exactly use the instructions when I was showing you the install, or at least the way I installed it. Not gonna lie, I read through this a couple times before showing it, and I attempted to install it a couple times before showing it, and I found that if you do it by yourself, the way that the instructions say, you're probably gonna have a pretty hard time following it. If you had a second person to help you, that would make it a lot easier if you're trying to follow these instructions to a T. My channel, I want it to be centered around the details. I want you guys to know everything about this equipment. So I'm just gonna read real quick through it word for word, just so you can see exactly how the instructions say to install it. So step 1, install bushing A between the tractor frame and the brush guard arm. The smaller diameter of the bushing goes into the brush guard arm, and the large diameter of the bushing goes against the tractor frame. So this is where I think you would have a pretty big problem doing it yourself. If you're trying to hold that brush guard and then put those bushings in, chances by yourself, they're gonna fall out. If you had someone else, you could have that person hold the brush guard and one bushing, putting pressure against the frame, holding it in, and then you could, you know, put the other bushing in, and then you'd be able to put the bolts through to hold it. I didn't do that. There's enough room there. You don't have to bend anything. You can put the brush guard up there. You can put that pivot rod on there, and then put the bushings in, and it's a lot easier. You don't need to worry about them falling out. So there's a note after that. The brush guard should be able to pivot freely when rod E is removed. So you saw me do that. Even with those nuts tightened all the way down, that'll move freely. Step 2 is insert the M8 by 30 bolt through the tractor frame C, bushing A, and through the brush guard D. Secure with M8 nut B, but do not tighten the nut completely. Remember that. Repeat for opposite side. So once I put the bushings in, I put the bolt in the nut on immediately. That way nothing fell out since I was doing it myself. And then I did that to the other side. A little different there, but in the end, same thing happens. Next is a note: on the X300 select tractors, the rod will be placed in hole G. Hole G is actually the hole that I used to put the rod through on mine. The illustration here is a little bit different, even though it says picture note X500 select tractor shown. I'm going to assume that this is the slightly older X500 series tractors, back when the designations were down in the lower 500s, in the 530s, you know, maybe 540s, that area. But I'm going to say the later 500s, so the 570, the 580, 584, and the 590. Those ones, it looks like you're going to be using hole G, same as the 300 series tractors. Step 3 is align the holes of the brush guard with the holes of the frame and install rod E, secure with spring locking pin. So you saw me do that more so at the beginning, as having this brush guard held in place by that rod made it a lot easier. I had to move it around a little bit just to get the bushings in, but I myself didn't have to hold that. I was free to worry about the bushings and the bolt. There's a note below that then: to open the hood with the brush guard installed, the rod E will need to be removed. You saw me do that. 4, opening the hood, remove spring locking pin F from rod E. B, remove rod. C, lower brush guard on the brush guard stops. D, open hood. You saw me open the hood in a variety of different circumstances. 5, close the hood, raise brush guard, and install rod E and secure with spring locking pin. You saw me do that. So this whole thing overall was very easy. I would definitely put some, well, yeah. I told you earlier to remember about not to tighten that nut completely. There's nothing in here, and I read the whole version of this in English. There's nothing in here that says to tighten that nut. I'm going to recommend that you put some blue Loctite on there. That way it doesn't fall off. That is not a nylon lock nut, nor is it the oval kind that is a self-locking nut. So vibration, this thing could come off and get lost in your yard, and then you're going to have issues with your bumper. So I would definitely put some Loctite on that. I know I will be doing that. So other than that, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, of course, ask, and I'll get back to you. Other than that, I definitely recommend this. It seems sturdy. I think it's going to be a great addition. So yeah, thanks for watching, and have a good one.